Hello and welcome to our latest episode of the Women in Business series. I'm Sophie Harris, Head of Business Development and Marketing here at Proctor and Stevenson. Today we're interviewing Helen Tanner, CEO of DataCubed, one of the UK's leading data laboratories. We'll be learning about her journey, her advice to women of the next generation, and how she feels being a woman in business. Hi Helen, it's a pleasure to have you on for our Women in Business episode today. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. If you wouldn't mind, could you tell us a little bit about DataCubed and the products and services that you offer?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. So I'm Helen Tanner, founder of DataCubed. We are a data consultancy. So we help businesses who have got their data spread all over the place. If you think about their financial tools, their CRM, all their social media channels, maybe some call center software, and tons of spreadsheets normally. We go into businesses that are mostly SMEs and have got their data spread all over the place. We help them transform that into a single source of truth. So they can ask really simple questions of their data and get immediate answers without having to ask some kind of data team to do it for them. So we've been going 5 years and we've just launched a product called My DataCubed, which is like a mini version of our consultancy services, and it's designed for small businesses, kind of between 5 and 20 employees, to connect all their data sources in a couple of minutes and create super simple marketing and business dashboards.
Oh, that sounds incredible. It's certainly a problem that we see quite often, is that they don't have a kind of unified approach to collecting that data. And then because of that, you can't really do too much with it from a marketing and new business perspective. So it's incredible that you're going in and kind of sorting that out for people. How have you found it so far, particularly with the current climate? Has it been particularly challenging for you? Have you had to change anything in particular?
So we've always been quite a digital business anyway, and we had a kind of flexible hybrid working model in terms of people working in the office but often working from home or working in clients' offices. So for us, it wasn't a big shift with lockdown. That didn't make a big impact on us. We literally could just say the next day we were going to work from home rather than work in the offices. We have seen that, before lockdown, we were getting most of our clients in the southwest of the UK, and now we've got kind of far more clients across the UK and indeed into the States and Europe as well. So we've been able to serve clients that are further away. Previously, we did think we'd always have to meet clients face to face, whereas now that definitely feels like an optional thing. And really, we're pretty diversified as a business. We work across lots of different sectors, mainly with your early adopters who are pretty digitally savvy, your chief executives who really want to transform their business digitally. But we work across all different sectors. So whilst we lost a couple of clients who were directly impacted by COVID, we were cushioned from the main impact of COVID in the market. But even then, we did see people being cautious, just being wary of making big investments and big spends. So we definitely felt the impact, but not as much as if we were in hospitality or travel or those types of sectors, which must have been horrendous for them and still is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's quite clear that, you kind of practice what you preach from a marketing perspective. You've clearly got an incredible marketing strategy there, and your ability to, like you said, go overseas and kind of open up the world a little bit through obviously the digital platforms that we now have at our disposal. I mean, clearly there's a reason that you are CEO of DataCubed, which is fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and how you got to the position you're in today?
Yeah, well, first of all, I founded the business, so I put myself into the CEO role. There were no other applicants, let's put it that way. So I think that's a good way to do it for any women out there who are thinking, how can they become CEO? Set up your own businesses. But I started as a coder working at the Met Office years ago. I studied oceanography, so I started my career in coding, programming. I wasn't a very good one, so I did that for a while and then moved into the more commercial roles and spent most of my career working in marketing, product, salesy type roles, but always underpinned by data. Probably because of my coding background, I always would edge towards the kind of data side of things and quantifying things. And I was working in financial services for most of my career, and I kept thinking, these are very commoditized, competitive markets. How do we differentiate in these really competitive commoditized markets? And came up with the idea of visualizing data, and visualizing the services that were intangible. How can you make them tangible And the idea was that you would, display them kind of visually, display that data visually. And I did that within some businesses I worked in and thought, and they were big corporates, and I wasn't very motivated working for big corporates and making rich people even richer. That wasn't motivating for me. My dad runs a small business, always has. So I thought, well, I wonder if I can go and help small businesses to use big business data and artificial intelligence tools to grow their businesses. So that was my mission, to bring those big business data tools and services to small businesses.
Oh, fantastic. That kind of leads me on to my next question, really, about in terms of growing your business. How did you kind of make that decision on your positioning? What was the key focus for your marketing?
We've wrestled with it a lot, actually. So my background's in marketing, and yet it's taken a long time for us to get the right proposition and the right offering and the right messaging and things to market. And even then, I think we can do better. So it's a constant thing that we've been working on, and it's been front of my mind all the way through. It took me about 3 years, kind of 2-3 years, to really have a decent packaged products and service offering that we were very clear what we were offering and how much it cost and who we were offering it to. That took me a few years of experimentation and getting it wrong. At the beginning, I was like, we'll do anything data related, whatever you want, we'll do it. Now we have a 4-step process. It starts with a discovery and a fact find, a data audit. It goes into a design, which is data tech stack recommendations, then goes into a build stage, then into a support stage. So we're really, really clear now, and we've therefore found we're able to qualify customers in and out really quickly, as are they. We can be really clear about the costs involved. So that's taken quite a while. And then in terms of how that kind of manifests itself visually, we've done a lot ourselves at the moment, and we're at that point of going, we need some professional help to help us, actually. So and speaking to you guys about that at the moment. So it's a work in progress, I think, and I don't think it'll ever stop. I think for as long as we are challenging ourselves on who our target market is, what we're offering, and as that evolves and as the market evolves, then we'll be constantly challenging our positioning and brand values and all those types of things as we go.
Yeah, I think that's you might agree or disagree, but depend on your experience. But I think that's a common problem that we see with businesses that have either, they're either kind of within that startup phase, or they've seen quite exponential growth within a quick time period. Is that there's this kind of attitude, I guess, of we'll just do anything that you need us to do, and not really have a defined proposition or a defined set of objectives, or even just kind of talking about themselves in a kind of, a well-refined manner. Is that something that you see a lot with the SMEs that you work with as well?
Yeah, I think, our clients are mostly between kind of 50 and 500 to 1,000 employees, that type of size. And when we work with corporates, we work with kind of regional parts of them. So we do tend to be working with smaller size. I don't think any of them would say, we've got our marketing nailed. None of them, right? Don't get me wrong, they're all doing great jobs in marketing, but I think they themselves are going, how can we get better, or how can we measure what we do better? And obviously we're talking to them about their marketing metrics and marketing data. So that's where we're starting with. So even when they think we're doing a good job, they want the numbers to prove it, and actually showing how your marketing is performing and how well it's attributing to sales and what the return on investment is really, 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 really hard. It involves a lot of effort, and as I say, I don't know any business we work with who reckons they've got that nailed yet. It's all a work in progress.
Definitely. I think, particularly in your kind of area of expertise, measurement and then optimization is something that I guess you and ourselves really, we preach to clients as much as possible. I think there's always a danger there that they kind of stagnate, and then, we've seen over the last 2-3 years or so how quickly something can kind of turn a little bit stale or doesn't move with the time. So I think what you're doing is incredible in terms of, unifying that data so that when it comes to that optimization process, they've got a real batch there of information that they can grow with, rather than kind of your best guess on what the audience needs or what the sector needs. They've got a tangible, really informative batch of data that they can grow from. And I think that's key for so many businesses, is actually being able to build on fact rather than just opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, completely. One thing I often quote is around the fact that the days for making decision on gut feel or whoever shouts the loudest should be over, right? Every business decision should be at least data informed, if not data driven. Like, you always need an element of common sense over the top of it. But, you know, there's no excuse now to just accept what's been a myth within a business, that, you know, of a certain conversion rate or whatever it might be, or customer satisfaction or whatever it might be, that, you know, we've all worked in organizations where there's just been numbers quoted which have, you know, are out of date, have never been proven. So yeah, absolutely, there's no excuse for it now. You know, the data is there. You should be using data to be challenging yourself on how you're performing. But don't get me wrong, that's really hard. You know, I mean, we help businesses with that, but equally, we are a business ourselves using our data to help our performance. So, you know, we practice what we preach, and we experience the same challenges that our clients do. So we can also empathise with those too.
Yeah, absolutely. And clearly you work with a lot of organisations, and then with the company yourself. I think it's fair to say that traditionally speaking, leadership roles were kind of male dominated for a long period of time. And we are seeing that kind of shift towards a more equal amount of male and female, you know, kind of within the leadership roles today. But what sort of challenges did you face kind of being a woman in your area of expertise and role, particularly, I guess, because you're coming from both a marketing and sales, but then also a development perspective as well?
I think, I mean, firstly, I'm not sure things are changing, Sophie. I wish I felt as confident as you. I think it's you know, it certainly gets a lot more PR attention and press coverage and things now. But I still, you know, go to physical events and there's mostly men there. I'm still on calls and presentation and stages at events, and it's mostly men, and I'm the only woman. Yet alone, people of colour. I think. It sounds quite negative, but I don't think enough progress is being made. Certainly not that warrants the coverage you see. There's not enough change. But anyway, so what have I felt? I suppose in my business, I'm now completely shielded from it, right? Because I'm a female founder of a small business. So I guess if anyone's got a problem with that, they just wouldn't work with us. And I guess I wouldn't know that, right? So I probably feel a little bit shielded in our world of, you know, because there's no getting around that. You know, I'm the female founder. And you know, but we do have a really mixed team working with me. I think, you know, in the corporate world, you know, I mean, it's been a long time since I was in the corporate world, 5 years or so, but, you know, that was, you know, it showed all the places I worked showed all those statistics that you read about, you know, 50-50 at the bottom and very little diversity at the top. So, but yeah, I think, as I say, I think I'm now shielded from it, and this business, I'm passionate about diversity, not because it's a nice thing to do, which it is, of course, but there's so many studies out there globally that have shown that diverse teams, diverse projects perform so much higher than homogenous teams and homogenous projects. That for me, that, you know, obviously being led by data, diversity is the only way to become a successful business and a high performing business. So for me and my business, it's something I'm really passionate about, and that's something I preach about with the team a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And just picking up on something that you mentioned there in terms of the PR around diversity, gender equality, a lot of the hot topics at the moment, particularly within the kind of private, well, and public sector, really. Do you think then that the sort of the PR element kind of outweighs the reality of it at the moment?
Yeah, I think so. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Yeah. You know, because that's often the case, right? You get people campaigning for issues where there's inequality or unfairness, and you know, and that leads the way before you know, cultural change and people change takes a lifetime perhaps. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, as long as we don't all believe that spin,
Yeah.
And get complacency from that spin.
Yeah.
As I say, before and after lockdown, I noticed it was really jarring. I think during, let's face it, we were in lockdown for 2 years, weren't we, almost? But during lockdown, there was loads of stuff about equality. And yet the first events, the first presentations I did, the first calls I got back onto, it was mostly white men in the tech scene. And we, and don't get me wrong, whilst there's not diversity in those white male tech scenarios, there's a lot of inclusion. The inclusion is brilliant. So diversity is not good. We need to still work on that. But inclusion, I think, is really positive. So I never feel excluded, but the numbers are still terrible.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting way to phrase it, actually. Kind of like you said, the diversity could be better, but in terms of attitudes towards diversity and then efforts being made to at least start going in the right direction is, arguably a lot better than it has been previously. And it's nice to see, it's not perfection, but it's progress. And at least we're kind of moving in the right way, which is great. That kind of sounds like a lovely tagline for an album or something.
Doesn't it? Yeah. That's yours.
Yeah.
You can take that one.
TM.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's incredible. I think that's a really important thing, really, is that I guess kind of like you mentioned, it's about continually growing. There's never going to be a point where we think, you know what, we've hit the numbers, we're diverse enough, and we're done. It's important that we keep learning and keep these things at the forefront of our minds, rather than it becoming a tick box exercise or something that people feel they need to do from a PR perspective, but it's ingrained in company culture. And just our general societal attitudes, I think, is incredibly important as well. And I think that you've raised an amazing point that, like you said, the PR just doesn't quite match the reality of it at the moment. But touch wood, hopefully that will catch up sooner or later.
Absolutely.
I guess then, in terms of DataCubed itself, it's an incredibly exciting company. I am a sucker for data. I absolutely love it, particularly working within new business and marketing. I think you're absolutely correct. You have to continually look at the data, make sure that it's collected accurately, because otherwise, like you said, the days of guesswork and gut feeling are very much gone, and I wouldn't trust my gut feeling anyway. I thought somebody else was Gossip Girl for a really long time, so there's my gut feeling gone. In terms of the exciting projects that you've got at the moment, are there any that you feel really passionate about that you want to talk about?
I think our product, My Data Cubed, is designed for marketeers, so that's probably the most relevant one. So it's designed for marketeers who are probably using Google Analytics for their website, maybe an email tool like MailChimp, or perhaps within Zoho or similar, using a CRM tool of some type, a finance tool might be used within the business, and then all of the social media channels, of which there's loads of them. And we created this tool particularly because we kept talking to marketers and they kept saying, we can't connect all this data together. I have to go into all of these 10 different systems. I have to extract them all into spreadsheets. I have to pull them together into a kind of combined metrics. And we've got this tool which has taken us a while to get out, because we wanted it to be so simple, designed for non-data experts. It's no code, it's no tech, it's a couple of clicks and you can connect each of those data sources together in a couple of clicks, and designed for marketeers. So, and then you get instant dashboards. You've got some really cool tools to benchmark your business and versus others, and ask natural questions of your data, such as when did we have the highest number of followers or impressions, or whatever it might be. So that's the most exciting thing, and it's free, so you can check it out, mydata3.com. Have a play, have a look. That's the most exciting thing, because it's been a long time in my mind, but it's taken us a while to get the tech to be able to make it as simple as I wanted it to be. So that's the most exciting thing.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I think the low code, no code kind of industry is really booming at the moment. We work with Webflow, which is a low code, no code solution. I think it gives that autonomy and independence back to the business. So instead of having to, like you mentioned, having to rely on so many various tools, and then you have to worry about the API integrations and all of the other kind of added level of complexity that comes alongside that. You've got a central point that pulls in all of that information, and then it gives companies the best chance then to grow at a rate that works for them, that works for their customers, and is in tune with their overall business goals. I guess finally then, and this is kind of a really nice question, I always like to end on this one. Obviously you've had an incredible journey and you've seen so many different sectors, so many different types of roles. What advice would you give to women who are trying to break into your industry at the moment?
I think it's a really hard one. I guess there's two sides to that. I think one is as a founder of a startup, turning into a scale up, if you like, or a small SME. My feedback would be just do it. It will be incredibly hard. It's massively stressful. It's high risk. You might fail, but you learn so much, from it, and it's an absolute pleasure not having a boss above me. It's a pleasure to be able to create a really diverse business that really celebrates diversity. And that's amazing. So if anyone's thinking of setting up their own business, yes, it's really, really hard. No, it will not give you a better work-life balance. But oh my goodness, there's tons of benefits from it. And then on the tech scene, on the kind of data and tech scene and that type of thing, I think I speak to quite a lot of young people. We have internships, we have work experience. We do a lot with the University of Bristol and the University of Bath. And I always say, just get some experience and volunteer for something, get hands-on with some of these tools, because it's a really competitive landscape at the moment for recruitment. And whilst there is a talent skill shortage at a junior level, it can be really hard to break in. Whereas if you've had some work experience, you've done something, you've worked for a charity, you've done something for free, you can actually say, I built something from scratch in this relevant tool, then it's going to give you the advantage over other people. So I would say get hands-on in any way you can, because you need to find a way to get an edge. And as I say, if any women are struggling to get into tech, by all means connect with me on LinkedIn and follow up with me, and I can see how I can help.
Oh, fantastic. That's a really great piece of advice, actually. We see it, obviously, with our own technology team, a lot of sort of similar issues. And it does feel like, at the very junior level, there's a lot of talent there. And what we need to see is just a little bit of experience, not too much, but just to know that you're going in the right direction. And then, and volunteering and internships is always a fantastic way to get into an industry, particularly one as exciting as the technology sector.
Oh, absolutely.
That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. Really, really enjoyed speaking to you. And like I said, I'm a real sucker for data collection. And I think it's an incredibly important thing that any business can build into their overall business plan. And it helps so many companies grow at a rate that's comfortable and works for them. And just make sure that, like you said, we're not going off any gut feelings anymore. We're rooting our decisions in fact and not just opinions and so on. So thank you so much, Helen, for joining us today. I hope you've had a really nice experience.
I have. It's been great.
Good.
Thank you so much, Sophie. It's been an absolute joy. Really appreciate it.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and thank you very much to Helen Tanner for joining us. If you'd like to know more about Proctor & Stevenson and what we do, you can visit our website at www.proctors.co.uk.